It seems like whenever you're watching any documentary about D-Day or the Battle of Normandy or anything like that, they always refer to the German units that fought against the Allies as being like these elite, top-notch soldiers who were the best of the best. In reality, not all of the German units who fought in Normandy were the best of the best, but there were some elite soldiers who were here. Included among them would be the 6th Fallschirmjäger. The Fallschirmjäger were the paratroopers of the German military, and as you might expect, they were some of the most highly trained forces that Germany had to offer in 1944. On D-Day, the 6th Fallschirmjäger was commanded by Major von der Heydt. While the men of the 101st Airborne were new to combat, about a third of the 6th Fallschirmjäger had already seen combat in places like Crete, North Africa, and Russia, and it was in places like the village of Angoville-au-Plain where these two elite units would clash against each other on D-Day. Now, Erik Dorr is with me, and he has a pretty darn cool artifact that he has brought back here to Angoville-au-Plain. But before we get to that, right here, this building served as Colonel Sink's headquarters during the Normandy campaign. And there's a pretty well-known photo of him standing in front of this building, but obviously there's a big wall there and I don't have permission, so we're not going to go over there.
We're at Angoville-au-Plain, standing in front of the iconic church here, where both German and American casualties were treated for wounds just after D-Day. And 2 American medics from the 501st Parachute Infantry Regiment set up a field hospital in here. And they treated a lot of German paratroopers too, because the 6th Fallschirmjäger Regiment was in this area and they started to encounter American forces. These are a pair of Fallschirmjäger gloves, German gloves that were picked up by Dick Winters of Band of Brothers fame, and they're in our collection at the Gettysburg Museum of History, and I decided to bring them back here. Now initially there was some paperwork that went with this that was signed by Dick Winters, and it was signed a few years after he had sold these gloves, and he had put down that in that particular paperwork that they were picked up a few days after D-Day. Well, I was going through the files recently, you know, we have his files at the museum, and I was looking for some other material, and I found a more detailed letter where he talks about this and a few other war trophies that he picked up. And he specifically says that he picked up these gloves in the Angoville-au-Plain, Verville area, and that's where the 506 Parachute Infantry Regiment, specifically, and Easy Company, first encountered German Fallschirmjägers, paratroopers. So these were picked up by Dick Winters on D-Day +1, according to his notes, in this very area. And as far as I know, this is the first time they've come back here since they were picked up. The other interesting thing I find about this was, you know, he was in, Winters that is, was in combat for a good bit of time, and he would have had to carry these with him. You know, they didn't set up a military post office until a little bit later, so he would not have been able to mail these home right away. So he probably would have had these gloves with him throughout the Battle of Carentan and when he was wounded, and it's just really interesting to me. And you know, to bring these items back to where they came from is just really powerful, and just an amazing thing to see these gloves back where they were on D-Day +1 in 1944. So we're inside the church now, and we decided to bring the gloves in the church because the paperwork says they were picked up in this area, Vierville, Angoville, but we found out that Dick Winters actually did come into the church on June 7th with Carlwood Lipton. So we thought it would be an interesting shot to bring the Fallschirmjäger gloves into the church and show a photograph of Dick Winters with the gloves later in life.